first of all, talking about a little something that is supposedly scheduled for today, I believe that Senator Duckworth is calling for a vote on the War Powers resolution. Is that something that you're in support of, or what are your thoughts on that at this point in time?
Well, I think the administration is complying with the War Powers Act currently. Under the statute, the president has 60 days to manage a conflict before he has to come to Congress for authorization, so long as there's not ground troops, which there are not currently in Iran. And my hope is that by the end of the 60 days, which doesn't get to us here for another couple of weeks, by the end of that time, this conflict will be over. I think the president is working to end it, rather, and I hope that he will continue to do so swiftly. I hope we can bring this to a swift conclusion, get gas prices down, get fertilizer prices down. So I'm hopeful that this will be over soon.
Yeah, I do know that is a frustration among Missouri farmers, is getting the fertilizer that they need to get really growing this year. Another Illinois senator, Senator Durbin, and you are working to protect children. It's working to go after companies that are hosting child sexual abuse materials. Could you explain a little bit about this proposal that you want to do to really protect kids on the internet?
Here's the basic idea, which is that if you are a victim of child porn, if you have been exploited and your image is put online, if you've been exposed to images online that have turned you into a victim, you ought to be able to sue for that. You ought to be able to go to these companies like Facebook that are making billions of dollars a year and knowingly putting this child porn, child exploitative material online. They ought to be sued for that, and our legislation would allow families and victims to sue. Right now, these companies have a complete litigation bar. That just means you can't sue them. You can't hold them accountable. They're the only companies in America for whom that is true. You know, if you get into your car and it blows up, and it's because the manufacturer made it negligently, you better believe you'd have a suit against them. Why shouldn't these big tech companies be subject to the same rules as everybody else? They should be. We should give power back to the hands of victims and into the hands of parents. That's what this legislation would do.
And would that also go in hand with just anyone whose picture has been taken by one of these media companies and made into something that they did not expect?
If there is exploitative material, sexually exploitative material, that includes pornography, that includes images that are sexually suggestive, if there's that material that is on a platform, Facebook, let's say, and the platform knows about it, or they should know about it, our bill, my legislation, would allow victims to sue. I just think that that's fair. That's the rule everywhere else. I think it is wrong to say to these huge tech platforms that they get a sweetheart deal, and I also think it's wrong to say that they can profit off of exploiting our children, because the truth is, they know this stuff is on their websites. They know it. They just don't want to take it down because, sadly, it drives users and lookers to come to the website and to see what's there, and they make money off of it. Well, you know what? That is not good enough for me. We ought to empower parents and victims to hold them accountable.
Moving on to a piece of legislation that you had signed by the president earlier this year, the RECA, Radiation Exposure and Compensation Act, and that is out there for people to sign up. I know that it affects people in St. Louis. It also, in our area, affects people in the Paducah market. How has the response been so far, and how long do they have to get their name in to sign up?
The response has been tremendous. To date, the RECA program has paid out almost $100 million direct to Missouri residents. That's just Missouri residents. That's not nationwide. That's just people in our state who have been exposed to nuclear radiation and gotten sick because of it. And I would just emphasize, you don't have to live in the St. Louis or St. Charles areas now in order to get compensation. You know, a lot of folks grew up in St. Louis or St. Charles or spent some time there in school or working and now live in Southeast or now live in Springfield or somewhere else. Doesn't matter where you live now. If you live for a period of time in St. Louis or St. Charles and you were exposed to radiation and got sick because of it, you can get compensated. And I hope that everybody who's listening to this who thinks they might possibly qualify will apply and come to my office. We will help you. We have helped thousands of people apply. Currently, there are 12,000 applications that are pending. And so far, not a single Missourian has been denied. Not one. And by the way, the compensation is a minimum of $50,000. $50,000. And it can be more if your health care bills are larger due to an illness related to radiation. So I just encourage people to apply, and we will help you do it.
Roger. Unfortunately, we hit our 5 minutes.
Okay, we're done. Thank you, Cyrus. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
All right, take care.